A WWE superstar has re-signed for a multi-year contract. Also, an AEW star is now a producer / coach in the company. And yes, we are going to talk about a WWE champion not being cleared. Some plan changes, some changed plans, I should say, for WWE Raw. If you guys want more videos like this, don't forget to click that subscribe button, ring that bell, do what you got to do to stay in touch with everything happening in professional wrestling. Ladies and gentlemen, Angelico is no stranger to AEW, but you might not see him often on AEW programming. You might see him a little bit more on Ring of Honor, and that's okay because Ring of Honor is still a thing. However, Angelico has actually been doing a new role with AEW. And for some reason, we're now just finding out about this. Shout out to Fightful Select. They've reported that for the past year, Angelico has basically been working as a coach and producer for AEW. It's not exactly known when he started in this role, but he did recently produce the Megan Bayne match on AEW Collision, and he's been basically since day one with AEW. Yes, we've also seen him time and time again as a regular member of the Ring of Honor roster, which is fantastic. A lot of guys, a lot of guys seem to forget that Angelico at one point was part of a huge, thriving tag team division in the beginning of AEW with Serpentico. That was, oh my God, that was a fun time in AEW, by the way. Let me just be perfectly clear on that, because I think a lot of people forget about this. But when the tag team division kicked off in AEW, especially in the early days, there was a lot of great tag teams to the point where it was very difficult to kind of tell, like, who was going to be pushed, wasn't going to be pushed. But of course, we know Angelico from his time in Lucha Underground and stuff like that. And then, of course, coming to AEW, it's been really big. But this is a really big shift in strategy for AEW, which is cool. He's a veteran talent to the business, and now he's taking on a dual role with the company. So not only is he wrestling in ROH, but he's also coaching and producing matches for the main roster. This is also the same job that Jerry Lynn has, Christopher Daniels, Serpentico. This is kind of like a new thing that AEW has done, where a lot of the coaches, a lot of the producers are people who actually regularly perform for the company. Yeah, I get it. Angelico is not the biggest name, wasn't pushed to the moon. None of that is actually relevant. He's a fantastic performer, and because of that, there is a lot of value with him in this position. So I actually credit AEW for this. I have always been adamant. I've said this for years with WWE, AEW, and TNA. The best thing you can do is definitely have a mixture of outsiders and then people in the business who are in these positions. And if he's not going to be doing a lot of stuff for AEW television, but he could provide value, it's worth it the entire time. And that brings us to Naomi. Ladies and gentlemen, nobody knows if this is storyline, what's the actual situation here, but WWE has come out with a tweet, and they have said, breaking news, Naomi is not medically cleared tonight to compete, and therefore her scheduled match against Io Sky will not take place tonight on Monday Night Raw. Tune in to tonight for continuing coverage on this developing story. Now, I've reached out. I've tried to figure out what the hell is going on here. I'm not getting any statement. And as of this time, WWE is not even talking about the severity of this injury. They're not even coming out with any details regarding this injury, which has been really insane because Naomi is the World Women's Champion. And we have seen this time and time again where talent in WWE or AEW, they're getting pushed, they have a championship belt, and next thing you know, they get hit with an injury, and then either they have to vacate the belt, they're removed from television, creative plans have changed, and it's the risk of professional wrestling. For those who try to say that wrestling is fake, this is your proof that it's not. People do get injured. Things do happen. WWE and AEW and TNA and all these companies out there, they do have to change plans on the fly. But part of me is not convinced that this is 100% legit. Part of me is convinced that WWE will air some sort of segment that shows Naomi was attacked when arriving to the arena. Something. A mystery attacker angle. Maybe it's Rhea Ripley. I don't know. But something about this tells me it's a work. And I know wrestling fans hate when we always hypothesize? I don't know. Anytime we come up with a theoretical situation, when we try to theorize, I should say, anytime we try to come up with like things, we just tend to say it's a work. And that's kind of the beauty of professional wrestling. You don't know what's real, don't know what's not real. And of course, it's hard to trust WWE with injury reports, considering that Seth Rollins wasn't actually injured and he came back and cashed in. But if this is legitimate, that's a problem. because she is carrying the World Women's Championship. There's a massive storyline. Io Sky has a couple issues that they're teasing with the Kabuki Warriors. Rhea Ripley is kind of teasing a heel turn, but we're not necessarily sure if they're going to go in that direction. That's problematic because a lot of this tends to be from the fact that Naomi is the champion, bro. I'm sorry. I hate when news like this drops. And I hate how much it actually impacts the product. And truth be told, it impacts the product quite a bit. And so now we're in a situation where, like, I'm looking at this head on, where, like, Naomi is definitely needed on television. And the last thing she needs is to be out of TV for a long period of time, because her whole career, man, I'm trying not to laugh, but it's funny how things work. Her whole career, they never really trusted her to be in that spot. She walks away from the company, goes to TNA, comes back and kills it. It sucks. And that brings us to our final topic, ladies and gentlemen. Lola Vice has re-signed with the WWE. We got to talk about this because I don't even know what the hell's going to happen next. That's the crazy part about this. So PWInsiderElite.com has come out and confirmed that the rising star from NXT, Lola Vice, has signed a new contract with WWE to remain in the company for multiple years. Now, we don't know the exact length of the contract, but right now, most of the rumors, most of the contracts are anywhere from 3 to 5 years. Her deal was expected to expire this summer. They locked it in before they could even come to an agreement, before they could even lose out on an agreement. She joined WWE in 2022. Remember, guys, if you don't know Lola Vice, she came from Bellator, MMA, Valerie Lareda. Now she's working NXT. She's working WWE. She's working AAA. Like, they have a lot of big plans for Lola Vice, which is great. I'm excited about that. But there's some sort of issue here because of the Karrion Kross situation. So her deal wasn't even up yet. Karrion Kross's deal was up. Nobody talked to him. Nobody reached out. There was very, very little from WWE prior to his contract expiring. And then it turns out that Lola Vice, her contract wasn't even ending yet, and they already renegotiated and re-signed her. Something's not adding up with the way WWE is conducting business when it comes to retaining talent. And that's the reason why this is such a big topic. Shout out to Lola Vice. I think she's awesome. I think she's going to do great things in WWE. She is clearly going to do great things in the WWE. But even the stuff that they're doing with AAA, and now she's working AAA events, I think that's a really big benefit for her. I'm excited to see what WWE does. I don't know what WWE will do, but my theory here is that Lola Vice being re-signed is because they do want her on the main roster soon. And just a couple months ago, we were talking about her being drafted. So we'll see if that comes to fruition, but it's definitely something to pay attention to, especially with all this Karrion Kross stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the Ango Show.